Hey, so this is a little share about fraud and con artists that are going after seniors or other vulnerable people. And I think they're getting their information oftentimes from social media, the very social media that forgive me, I've got a wild hair, um, that our loved ones maybe sharing themselves, just being honest. But a lot of people wear their personal business on their sleeve on social media, and fail to understand. At some point, they just, I don't know how, fail to realize that there are so many fraudsters out there, and they are very skilled, very organized, and they will take them to the cleaners. I say this from personal experience. Um, I have at least one person in my family who is, and it's been going on a long time, and there's zero we can really do about it. Being conned and scammed, and things can go really, really south. So and it can go south fast, but sometimes it's a very patient type of grooming. It's definitely grooming. And there's also familial alienation. When we hear this about abusers of all types, right? They alienate the loved ones. That is true. The victimized elderly person or a vulnerable person will generally somehow become indoctrinated to resist and really kick to the curb the family members who are trying to get them to open their eyes. I don't know how the grooming is done. It's got to be so insidious, though. But so it often happens to someone who is a single senior. They are on Social Security because they have an income. They have something desired by the other person. Sometimes they have more than that, which is even better for the PERP. And the PERP, I believe, is a huge organization, international. There's more than one PERP. So it's more cartel-like in nature than one little hoochie mama. So I can just give you an example. Social media, say a person who is a senior person, recently a divorcee, or a widower. In this case, I think I'll refer to men, and I don't like to be sexist, but and this might be very sexist, I feel like the men lack some sort of judgment more than the females as they age when it comes to things of a titillating nature. And maybe loneliness gets the better of them in a much more damaging way. So, when they're putting on social media that anything that would suggest that they are single, such as their status, very easy, right? Widow, just became widowed. That is a big one because not only are you single now, you are emotionally vulnerable and going through some probably emotionally riveting factors, you meaning the older person. So I have seen upon widowerhood, some of our seniors suddenly have 10 times more friends than they had before. And the new friends are all in bikini tops with big hooters. I'd say the majority. I'd say 90% of them. Some of them are a little more discreet. But anyway, they are suddenly friends with this senior who there would be zero in common with, by and large. And the senior is, and this is in fast order, guys. I mean, a number of weeks, kicking family to the curb, who puts a warning in their ear, like, you probably shouldn't send that check to that stranger. But something happens where they just have their head in the sand. You know, we see this in other areas of life, right? Generally, people with head in their sand, they won't look at the evidence when it's in front of them, blah, blah, blah. We talk about it all the time. But when, you know, this is something perhaps similar, but a little more individual, because they are actually targeted individually, and they are led along like a carrot in front of their face. And it is sad, it's pathetic. And because it happens to so many, you know, you can't just blame the person it's happening to as them not being on top of it. I think they're vulnerable, and I think they are less than cognitively on top of things. So you know, they are true victims, even if they become nasty victims somewhat to their families. I don't know what the defense is. I think there's people out there that know more about what family members can do, if anything. But honestly, I don't know what someone can do, because someone who is not otherwise declared by a court to be incompetent and not be able to handle their own affairs, and that takes a huge amount of undertaking to have that happen. And most people don't have the funds to do that for their loved one. And then the chance of winning is low, and rightfully should be low, because everyone has a right to make their own mistakes in life and not have family, you know, force them to make perfect decisions. But so I don't know where the line is drawn. All I know is that it happens to so many of our seniors. And again, I've seen it firsthand, and kind of more than once. And it's terribly troubling. You almost have to it's like watching a train wreck in slow motion, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's painful for the family. It's devastating. So I just wanted to put it out there, that it's a really good idea to keep an eye, if you can. The closer you are logistically to the person that you love, the older person, I think is way, way better. I think we have prevented, you know, it's preventable if the person is physically adjacent to their beloved family members, where they live in the same house or very close by. It's when there's a distance that makes it almost, it seems impossible. If anybody out there is an expert on this, you know, I would love to hear from you. If you ever wanted to share it to everyone out like I am, that would be great, to some of my viewers. But for myself alone, I would like to know, because, you know, and the rest of us are getting up there too. So, or many of us, and it would be nice to know what to look out for. I mean, we can't fathom ourselves becoming, all right, can I just say it, stupid as a rock? But it seems to happen. Like, that's just part of our biology, or at least some of us. So, you know, who knows, you know, where our own paths will go cognitively. So anyway, maybe if we know what to look out for, maybe there'll be other ways to prevent. Social media is I think a great impetus. And when I say great, I mean big, I don't mean good, for this happening. And I don't know to what extent social media, I know, I'll give an example. For someone who was not a victim, but that's because the first person has people close by, there is a fake account with that person's picture on it. Yep. Someone else in a different place using her name and her picture. It's a very old picture. I mean, like decades old. So it's, and it's on a person who misappropriated her name and her picture, facial likeness, and has a Facebook account, and multiple family members of the person whose identity has been stolen on Facebook has notified Facebook, including myself, only to be told, nope, seems to be no problem here. So you don't get a live body. Social media has dropped the ball. They're so busy censoring everybody with an opinion, good, bad, or ugly, which I think is wrong and contrary to the First Amendment, even for a Facebook who is commercial, because they have usurped a public square and a public utility. And that's a whole different discussion of a legal nature. But, you know, if they're not pulling any weight, you know, it makes it very hard to prevent, you know. They would certainly be able to tell if someone stole someone's identity, I think, or certainly open up the can of worms to find out with the assistance from, you know, multiple people. But they're not doing it. They're too busy, apparently, censoring other things and manipulating people for perhaps something that occurs in November. But aside from that, you know, whatever we can all do to keep track of our loved ones so they're not gypped. People lose houses this way. Remember, when someone's a widow, there is one less signature needed to convey that house than there was before their loved one spouse died. And they are now the vulnerable person who's easy to manipulate and handle. And oftentimes houses are lost, homes are lost, and that individual no longer has a home to live in because maybe what was a paid off house or nearly paid off house is now mortgaged to the hilt and the money's gone. There can be police involvement. There can be FBI involvement with money laundering. A lot of these major cartel organizations are using these vulnerable people and their bank accounts to launder significant amounts of money very quickly in and out. So, and yeah, because I've seen it personally. So, take heed, guys, for those who have someone that they love that's older, or someone who is older and maybe didn't know that this is going on out there. You know, I'd say this about social media. If you get a request from a friend that you do not personally know, give them the finger. I mean, just reject them right out the door. I mean, honestly, I'm not trying to put you down. It would be the same thing if it was someone doing it towards me. What do you think they want from you? Your good looks? I mean, you're probably cute, but listen, come on. When they look like they're 20 and you're 65 or 70 or 55, open your eyes, you know, get that brain working again. All right, guys, this is a sad one for me. I feel like I'm going to cry because it's something else I just learned, you know, about someone that I care about. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. Bye.